An estimated 70,000 people protested in Prague against Czech government on Saturday, calling on the ruling coalition to do more to control soaring energy prices and voicing opposition to the European Union and NATO. Organizers of the demonstration from a number of far-right and fringe political groups, including the Communist Party, said the Central European nation should be neutral militarily and ensure direct contracts with gas suppliers, including Russia. Police estimates put the number of protesters at around 70,000 by mid-afternoon. The aim of our demonstration is to demand change, mainly in solving the issue of energy prices, especially electricity and gas, which will destroy our economy this autumn, event organizers told. The protest at Wenceslas Square in the city center was held a day after the government survived a no-confidence vote amid opposition claims of inaction against inflation and energy prices. The vote showed how Europe's energy crisis is fueling political instability as soaring power prices, stock inflation are already at levels unseen in 3 decades. Prime Minister Peter Fiala, who leads the center-right five-party coalition, told a news service on Saturday that the protesters did not have country's best interest at heart. The protest on Wenceslas Square was called by forces that are pro-Russian. They are close to extreme positions and are against the interest of the Czech Republic, Prime Minister said. World food prices have fallen for a fifth consecutive month but are still nearly 8% higher than a year ago, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization reported on Tuesday. Its latest food price index shows that the prices of 5 commodities, cereals, vegetable oil, dairy, meat and sugar were lower in August than in July. The index tracks the monthly international prices of these breadbasket staples. It averaged 138 points last month, down nearly 2% from July, though 7.9% above the value a year before. FAO said the decline in cereal prices reflected improved production prospects in North America and Russia and the resumption of exports from Black Sea ports in Ukraine. A landmark agreement to unblock Ukraine grain exports amid the ongoing war was signed in July by the country, Russia, Turkey, and the UN. Rice prices on average held steady during August, while quotations for coarse grains such as maize increased marginally. Vegetable oil prices decreased by 3.3%, which is slightly below the August 2021 level. FAO attributed this to increased availability of palm oil from Indonesia due to lower export taxes and resumption of sunflower oil shipments from Ukraine. International quotations for poultry fell amid elevated export availabilities, and bovine meat prices declined due to weak domestic demand in some top exporting countries, while pig meat quotations rose. Sugar prices also hit their lowest level since July 2021, largely due to high export caps in India and lower ethanol prices in Brazil. FAO has also issued its global cereal production forecast for this year, which projects a decline of nearly 40 million tons or 1.4% from the previous year. By contrast, FAO expects there will be a negligible drop in worldwide wheat production resulting from expected record harvest in Russia and conducive weather conditions in North America. Global rice production is also expected to decline by 2.1% from all-time high reached in 2021. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday that Kyiv troops have recaptured from Russian forces several settlements in Kharkiv region in the country's northeast. This week we have good news from Kharkiv region, Zelensky said in his daily address, adding that now is not the right time to name those settlements where the Ukrainian flag has returned. Observers have reported a breakthrough by Ukrainian forces in the Kharkiv region in recent days with no official confirmation of the potential gains. Ukraine has been waging a counter-offensive in the south of the country since last week, where it also claimed recapturing several villages. Kharkiv region has been partly occupied by Russian troops since the start of the invasion launched on February 24. The city of the same name, the second largest in Ukraine, is regularly targeted by deadly bombardments, but the Russian troops have never managed to seize it. President Vladimir Putin on Monday approved a new foreign policy doctrine based around the concept of a Russian world, a notion that conservative ideologues have used to justify intervention abroad in support of Russian speakers. The 31-page humanitarian policy published more than 6 months into the war in Ukraine says Russia should protect, safeguard, and advance the traditions and ideals of Russian world. While presented as a kind of soft power strategy, it enshrines official policy ideas around Russian politics and religion that some hardliners have used to justify Moscow's occupation of parts of Ukraine and support for breakaway pro-Russian entities in the east of the country. The Russian Federation provides support to its compatriots living abroad in the fulfillment of their rights to ensure the protection of their interests and preservation of their Russian cultural identity, the policy said. It said that Russia's ties with its compatriots abroad allow it to strengthen on the international stage its image as a democratic country striving for the creation of a multipolar world. Putin has for years been highlighting what he sees as the tragic fate of some 25 million ethnic Russians who found themselves living outside Russia in newly independent states when Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, an event he has called a geopolitical catastrophe. Russia has continued to regard the former Soviet space from the Baltics of Central Asia as its legitimate sphere of influence, a notion fiercely resisted by many of those countries as well as by the West. The new policy says Russia should increase cooperation with Slavic nations, China and India, and further strengthen its ties to the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa. Liz Truss will take the oath as the next UK Prime Minister on Tuesday after defeating Rishi Sunak in the Conservative leadership contest. Liz Truss will be the third woman Prime Minister of UK after Margaret Thatcher and Theresa May. However, the key cabinet post will see no white man. Liz Truss defeated rival Rishi Sunak with 81,326 votes to 60,399 among party members. UK Foreign Minister and Conservative Party leader Liz Truss was elected as the next UK Prime Minister on Monday. The announcements of the key ministerial portfolios are expected to start pouring in by Tuesday evening. For the first time in Britain's history, there will not be a white man in one of the four great offices of the state. According to British daily newspaper, Liz Truss is expected to appoint James Cleverly as Foreign Secretary, Suella Braverman as Home Secretary. The expected appointments were welcomed by some, including Boris Johnson's former race advisor Samuel Kasumu, who resigned last year after a controversial report by the Commission on Race and Ethnic Disparities. It further reported that her rival Rishi Sunak is not expected to be offered a job in her cabinet, a break from the tradition whereby most unsuccessful leadership contenders have been offered posts. Liz Truss is expected to arrive at Balmoral Castle in Scotland on Tuesday, where she will be formally appointed by Queen Elizabeth as the country's next Prime Minister, a Buckingham Palace spokesman said on Monday. Pakistan's Finance Minister Miftah Ismail on Wednesday said the country's textile sector had demanding lifting of a ban on the import of cotton from India, but the government has so far not taken any decision on the issue. Addressing a press conference along with the defense minister, Ismail talked about the damage caused to the cotton crop due to devastating floods that have affected more than 33 million people, inundated a third of country and caused losses of more than USD 10 billion. Replying to a question with respect to trade with India, the minister said that All Pakistan Textile Mills Association was asking the federal government to allow import of cotton from India. The government has not taken any decision yet, he said, without elaborating when such a decision could be taken. Pakistan suspended trade with India after the latter revoked the special status of Jammu and Kashmir in August 2019. But the ban is hurting the crisis hit country in the wake of floods, which caused scarcity of commodities and pushed up prices. When the country faced shortage of onions and tomatoes due to destruction of the crops, Ismail was the first to drop a hint about the option of importing the two items from India. However, Ismail later said that the government will consult coalition partners on the issue after criticism from the opposition over the plan in the wake of strained ties with New Delhi over Kashmir issue. Pakistan allowed import of two items from Iran and Afghanistan. Ismail said that vegetables such as tomatoes and onions were being imported from Afghanistan, and if the market gets stable with this import, government would not need to import commodities from India. The issue of cotton and the demand by the powerful textile lobby is quite different from the import of onions and tomatoes because textile is the backbone country's exporters, which Pakistan has been trying to increase. Reversing the decision of its predecessor, the Biden administration has approved a whopping USD 450 million F-16 fighter jet fleet sustainment program to Pakistan. As a notification to the US Congress, the State Department has made a determination approving a possible foreign military sale of F-16Ks for sustainment and related equipment for an estimated cost of USD 450 million, arguing that this will sustain Islamabad's capability to meet current and future counter-terrorism threats by maintaining its F-16 fleet. The Defense Security Cooperation Agency delivered the required certification notifying Congress of this possible sale on Wednesday. This is the first major security assistance to Pakistan after Trump in 2018 announced to stop all defense and security assistance to Pakistan, alleging that Islamabad was not a partner in its fight against terrorism. The United States government has notified Congress of a proposed foreign military sales to sustain Pakistan Air Force's F-16 program. Pakistan is an important counter-terrorism partner, and as a part of long-standing policy, the United States provides life cycle maintenance and sustainment packages for US origin platforms. A State Department spokesperson said Pakistan's F-16 program is an important part of the United States-Pakistan bilateral relationship. The Pentagon said this proposed sale will support the foreign policy and national security objectives of the United States by allowing Pakistan to retain interoperability with the US and partner forces in ongoing counter-terrorism efforts and in preparation for future contingency operations. A tropical storm off the Pacific coast brought cooler temperatures and much needed rain to Southern California on Saturday, ending a scorching heat wave and easing fears that a massive wildfire could threaten more residents. Officials had warned that high winds from the remnants of Tropical Storm K could fan the flames of Fairview Fire, which as of Friday had consumed about 27,000 acres in Riverside County, east of Los Angeles, and was only 5% contained. Heavy rain from the storm, meanwhile, raised the possibility of flash flooding and mudslides. But steady rain helped firefighters make significant progress overnight, according to a spokesman for CAL FIRE, the state's firefighting agency. As of 10:50 a.m., the fire was 40% contained and there were no reports of flash flooding and debris flows. Thankfully, the rain from Tropical Storm K came through earlier than expected and provided a lot of relief for firefighters. Thousands of residents have been ordered to leave their homes, though some people who live west and northwest of the fire have been allowed to return since Friday. Two people have died as a result of the fire. Mosquito fire east of the state capital of Sacramento continued expanding overnight. However, as of Saturday morning, the blaze had burned through more than 33,000 acres and was 0% contained, CAL FIRE said. Highs in Southern California were mostly expected to stay under 90 Fahrenheit. According to forecasters, after days of oppressive heat across much of the state, temperatures hit a record 101 degrees at Los Angeles International Airport on Friday, the National Weather Service said. Officials had considered implementing rolling electricity outages earlier in the week when power demand hit an all time high. Achieving full gender equality, one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), could take close to 300 years if the current rate of progress continues, according to a report published on Wednesday by UN Women and the UN Health Department of Economic and Social Affairs (UNDESA). The study reveals how gender disparities are worsening in the face of cascading global crises such as COVID-19 pandemic, violent conflict, and climate change, coupled with backlash against women's sexual and reproductive health and rights. This is a tipping point for women's rights and gender equality as we approach the halfway mark to 2030, said Saima Bahuz, Executive Director at UN Women. It is critical that we rally now to invest in women and girls to reclaim and accelerate progress. The data show undeniable regressions in their lives made worsen by the global crisis in incomes, safety, education, and health. The longer we take to reverse this trend, the more it will cost us all. The Gender Snapshot 2022 report showcases how cooperation, partnerships, and investments are essential to put world back on track. Without swift action, legal systems that do not ban violence against women or protect their rights in marriage and family may continue to exist for generations to come. The report warns that at the current rate of progress, it will take up to 286 years to close gaps in legal protection and remove discriminatory laws. Furthermore, it will take 140 years for women to achieve equal representation in leadership positions in the workplace and 40 years for the same to happen in national parliaments. Meanwhile, to eradicate child marriage by 2030, progress will have to be 17 times faster than in the last decade, with girls from the poorest rural households and in conflict affected areas expected to suffer the most. Cascading global crises are putting the achievement of SDGs in jeopardy, with the world's most vulnerable population groups disproportionately impacted, in particular women and girls. Gender equality is a foundation for achieving all SDGs and it should be at the heart of building back better, said Maria Francesca, an Assistant General Secretary at UNDESA. The death of Queen Elizabeth II triggered the Operation London Bridge protocols. It set in motion a series of planned events accompanied simultaneously by Operation Springtide, the code name for Queen Elizabeth II's son and heir. Charles succeeding her on the thrones as King Charles III. The Prime Minister will be the first member of the government to make a statement on the death. Then, the PM will hold an audience with Prince Charles, who will deliver a broadcast to the nation. The royal family's website will then be changed to a black background with a small message confirming the Queen's death, and the UK government website will display a black banner, as will all government department social media pages. Internally, the day of Queen's passing will be referred to as D-Day, and each day after until the funeral, which will take place on day 10, will be referred to as D plus 1, D plus 2, and so on. The morning after Queen Elizabeth's death, Charles will be sworn in as the new sovereign by the Accession Council. The Queen's coffin will be carried to Buckingham Palace. According to rules, if she dies at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where she currently is, Operation Unicorn will be activated per politico, meaning her coffin will be transported to London via royal train. If that is not possible, Operation Overstudy will come into effect and the coffin will instead be transported by plane. The Prime Minister and ministers will welcome it upon arrival. There is an entire different plan if she were to pass away at Sandringham. Charles will receive the motion of condolence at Westminster Hall and later start his tour of United Kingdom as its new monarch. When he arrives in Northern Ireland, he will attend a service at St. Anne's Cathedral in Belfast. Meanwhile, a rehearsal will take place ahead of Operation Lion, when the Queen's coffin will be carried from Buckingham Palace to the Palace of Westminster. A service will be held in Westminster Hall upon the coffin's arrival. Queen Elizabeth II will lie in state at Westminster Hall in the Palace of Westminster for 3 days in what is being called Operation Feather. For 23 hours per day, visitors will be able to pay their respects. Tickets will be issued to VIPs for designated time slots. Charles will travel to Wales to receive another motion of condolence and attend a service at Llandaff Cathedral ahead of Queen's funeral, which will take place the following day.